everyone. Just doing a couple of checks to see if it all works. This is really freaky. I can see myself on the screen in front. How weird. Right. I think everything's working. We shall see. Right. Pen and pencil in an artsy place. Very cool. Well, if anyone's here at the moment, can you give me a little bit of a notice if it's working, the sound? Oh, thank you very much, Clara Arts. Oh, and the Adventures of Katara. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate that. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Oh, it's working? Oh, fantastic. Right, well, we'll just give it a few more minutes and then we'll begin. And hopefully, has everyone got their cups of tea, their coffees, and their little snacks and whatnot ready? Very important. Not sure what to do now. Alright, so we need to think very quickly what we're going to draw, or everyone just says suggestions. We can doodle for a little bit, and I've got a little bit of an idea what I'd like to work on today for the 750 subscribers. Actually, it's not 750 subscribers, is it? 760? We've done incredibly well. I think it's more than that as well. Right. Looks pretty in focus, I think. We've had to do a little bit of a different setup because we've had to have the camera and stuff downstairs, not in my teeny tiny little study. So hopefully it all worked quite well. Fingers crossed. Anyway, right, definitely tea time. I've got mine. Nice. Right, 2 more minutes. Gonna have to figure out what we're gonna draw. So today I'll be using what is this? It's a 2B. It was the first pencil I picked up. Totally random, but I'm sure it will do us proud. Hopefully. Maybe. Alright. This is very nerve-wracking, isn't it? I don't know about you guys, but it's quite scary. Alright. Come on, 6 o'clock. Come on. I've just realised if anyone's just come in, and this is, I imagine I'll put this on the channel. I won't put it on the channel. I plan to put it on the channel because he knows all the ins and outs of YouTube and how technical stuff work. I make little scratchy doodles. That's my job. But yeah, if anyone's watching, sorry for the first 5 minutes. It's just going to be me doing this, dancing with a pencil. That's a very normal thing to do, right? So yeah, A4 paper. I think it's like 200 GSM, so it's nice and thick. It's almost like card. Can't quite pick it up. So it's nice paper. And as always, we've got the Microns 005s, and we're using the sepia today because I just think it looks nicer than the black. Even though I feel like the black ink really does show up quite well, but I think it's better to have what you're comfortable with, right? Post-production all gets fixed anyway, so thank you. Right, 6 o'clock. Hello everyone. Welcome to our first live stream of the Mumbling Artist. That's this guy here. So let's begin. Has anyone got any ideas what we should draw? First and foremost. Or I could just start doodling. Let's do that. I'll start some doodling. Right, let's where should we go with this? So I had an idea. So stay with me. So we've done a lot of stuff on the board game idea, and we've done a lot about the half ship, this large entity this large machine, and it's sort of, like a giant, like isopod, sort of like a woodlouse. And so my idea is it will sit above. This is a new idea, kind of. So it will sit above the world. So it's got its little exhausts, and kind of like a ship, kind of spacey and kind of weird and creepy. It's got these big eyes, and it's going to have these big claws, sort of drag it along. And if anyone's seen, there's a Studio Ghibli film, I always forget the name of it, and it's got the ooms or oms or something, these creatures that are in the world, and kind of cool and kind of weird. But it's kind of massive influence in this, as well as Howl's Moving Castle, which basically this is just my own little homage to it. And well, the half ship's had a few different versions, but we'll stick to this one today, and I think that'd be quite cool. So this is the ship, and it's going to have sort of like weird rooms that when you're playing as different characters, you can customize the rooms. And even though they won't be massively big, probably the same size as my teeny tiny study, you can customize them and make them more, develop them so they do different things for you and your team. Things like, we've talked about Ayla a lot, the sort of the witch class character, because she's just really cool. And if you upgrade her room, you basically get all these extra things about like an apothecary. So you can make herbs, but you can't make herbs, but you can gather herbs and grow them. And you can use them for essentially potions, so that adds an entirely different part of the game. So this idea, so you've got the top half of the half ship up here, and you've got your little helper people, and they'll be little NPCs, and they'll have the cables. And we've talked about these lines, these connections to the half ship. And you'll have your engineers, you'll have your little like hunter characters, and basically your gatherers. So it's kind of like a worker placement game in a sense. So my idea was, if this thing's being pulled along by itself, as well as these little people that pull them this way, what's going on underneath the world? So this kind of sprouted from an idea that I've always had mixed between what do I want in the world itself, and I kept coming back and forth from fantasy to sci-fi and everything in between. So the thinking now is, if we have the half ship as just sort of this small shell underneath, and let's say this, we'll do the world, the crust of the world here. Hopefully you can see that okay on camera, like that. And sort of the world below is a different beast altogether. So you've got all this, I guess, stagdolites, but it's sort of an ethereal, purgatory-like world. And then the half ship doesn't stop there. It's almost like a giant larvae. And then you've got this giant piece of the beast underneath as well. And this is where the lures are. So the lures are the characters like Vigo and those sorts of people. So here's the Earth's crust. And then here you have the actual game where you're sending off your, we'll do a little bit of a world here, sort of like that. So this is all the world of the roots and the fungi, and just like the underground world, really. So instead of stagdolites, we could have sort of roots, and I suppose they're not roots, they're just upside down trees. And we have the actual characters, and we have, thank you very much, Kadro, I appreciate that. So there we have so it'll still be biomechanical in nature, So it won't just be like a giant larvae thing, but you have these little rooms, these ports, these little scaffolding bits, and this is where you'll be sending your characters out to be exploring the world underneath. So it's a bit of a strange one, a bit of a strange drawing today, but I think I'll try and make sense of it. So you're sending off, I don't know, we'll do a little character here, come this way, and we'll say that's Dawn, and Dawn's the one with the weird creature that lives on her back, and she got these like scythe-like appendages coming out. So yeah, we'll have her going this way. I'm still not sure about if the lures, the characters you play with, if they've got connections as well to the half ship, like these cables, like they'll help us do. Excuse me. But this is where the sort of the game world will take place. And in my head, this would make for a wonderful figure, this entity here. It'd be a few inches tall on the game board, and then underneath this will be cards. So each location will be represented. And I'll just draw a little sort of tarot-sized card, not to scale. And you set them up. And my head at the moment, which makes for a good sized game, is having either 4x4, so that's 16, quick maths quickly, or 3x3, so 9. And each one will have a hexagonal sort of map attached to it. And they sort of interconnect to each other. That's terrible, but hopefully you're getting the idea. Like that. And they will seamlessly go into the next location. Oh my goodness, I can't draw hexagons, can I? Ugh. Ignore that, it's terrible. So the idea is I'm not really sure what to call it. I do like the whole Jungian Hillman sort of stuff, so the underworld, I guess, but I think it's more of I don't think it's quite a detachment from this world. But anyway, let's do some inking and we'll see how we go. Firstly, cup of tea. Very important. So we've done a bit of a sketch. Let's do some inking. So first and foremost, we'll do these little people going on their little adventure, and these will just be a basic roll to see what they get up to, and depending on what you've upgraded in the half ship and what sort of little helpers you've actually obtained through the game itself, they'll do all sorts of little jobs for you. So we'll do them first, and we'll do the front of the half ship. I'm still not sure about the half ship itself, and one of my ideas, and I really like this one, I will probably go back to it, is the half ship itself is, in a sense, a lost deity. A deity that was once, revered and loved and whatnot, but for whatever reasons, and we'll maybe go back into that another time, they were sort of dethroned and forgotten, and since then it's somehow amalgamated into one of these half ships, these giant creature-like near-organic things that transport people safely around this world, because it's full of nasties. So yeah, we will go through that another time, because I think it's quite a cool idea, and it kind of comes away from this Studio Ghibli-esque sense of a creature. I didn't really want the idea of a creature. I wanted something more than that, but yeah, I just think it's cool. And it had like this huge like female like face, and then all these tentacles, and even had hands, and you would have to sort of appease the deity to level up. But it's just a few ideas. Still very much,
work in progress. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit with you since, this is the 750 subscriber special, which thank you. Thank you all to, thank you all to, thank you everyone. Almost English, but not quite. Now we'll draw another little person here. We'll do a little engineer. So the engineers are more at home working near the half ship itself. But they have lots of little mechanical bits in there for, if the half ship was to get damaged or anything, that's their role to keep it going. I'm going to do a little bit of land here. And the land itself has kind of gone back and forth with ideas, like I said before. And at the moment, it's sort of like almost like an ice-like world. But that might be more because of the influence of Frostpunk, the original game, and sort of ice-like worlds like 30 Days a Night, that vampire film, which is a great film if anyone needs sort of like a horror suggestion. Really cool film. But yeah, just that desolate wasteland and nothingness feel to it. It's just such a wonderful feeling of, isolation and being a bit lost. And I guess the idea of the game was originally come from the sense of being homesick, and it sort of spurred this. Yeah. So yeah. And then if we do that idea of this desolate world up here, then we can kind of make anything going on down here. So this could be the top side of the world. It's just, there's nothingness. But those that are brave enough, or perhaps stupid enough, or even the ones that have been very, very naughty and been given this task, because as I've said multiple times, the characters that you play with, they're not particularly good. You're not playing with the heroes of the story, you're playing with the villains. And I wonder if that's why, thematically it would make sense that they don't have the same connections to the half ship to keep them safe. I just thought that was kind of cool. And also the sense of calling them lures, I always thought was quite thematically kind of creepy and cool, because I guess you're sending them out, to danger and whatnot to, I don't know, progress the story, progress the half ship's needs. Because where you can send these little people out to collect and gather resources and food and whatnot, it's the lures that have the real difficult job of, exploring old settlements, going to places that aren't safe, dealing with the monsters of the world, I suppose. I don't want to say underworld, but yeah, down there. Yeah, so still very much sort of getting the idea of what the game's all about. And every now and again I think, I've got this, I've got the idea down now, but, a few months will go past and then the ideas I've thought of before, I don't like them. I'm like missing something. And I feel like this game will be like that for a while until I feel like it's got something original to it. It's got its own life, its own story, and that's the plan. And I'm in no rush to make it. I'm enjoying the process, and this is the main reason for this channel, just having this place to sort of explore and work on the game, but keep a little bit of a visual diary. That was the whole idea of this channel, visual diary of my ramblings, which I think helps in quite a big way. Always helps having wonderful support from all of you. But it's nice to think about what I'm saying as I'm saying it, and I suppose it's just a different way to think. It's still kind of tricky to draw and talk at the same time, but I think I'm getting slightly better at it. By no means am I getting really good. Actually, I should do a counter at some point. Every time I say no rhyme or reason, it should be draw a frog, because one of the videos I said about 11 times, and even I was like, what am I on about? You know, outrageous. Right, so we're about finished drawing the half ship on the top side, and then we'll draw, you know, I suppose half ship's quite a big entity. It's probably ripped up all the ground, so try and illustrate that. The grounds were ripped up and we made this massive trail. Originally, the half ship used to crawl between trees. Actually, well, that'd be quite cool. We could do that. So, one of the ideas where you'd have these massive ancient trees, like the world was just woodlands, and so just do it nice and quick, and then like this. So we'll do a person probably the size of that. That's old Jill. That's the size of Jill there. And then we'll do some trees, and then the half ship. It's like some of this little exhaust again, and the legs were long and like spider-like, which were really cool, but at the same time really creepy. So, it was kind of like, that's how it, avoided all the bad things on the ground. So we put the trees right up here. And then the lures, so the main characters that we talk about, they would come down on these like zip lines, and they would go off into the world itself. So we'll do a little lure there and a little lure there. Yeah. This is when you draw an engineer in detail. That's a great idea. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll come back to that. So I don't forget. That's a great idea. Yeah, this line. So an engineer. So the idea of the engineers would have, there'd be multiple types of the engineers, the hunters, the gatherers. So you would kind of pick them out from a random pile of cards, but there would be some missions and some locations you could actually save them. But I'm still trying to figure out, how the balancing would work and how many of these little helpers you could have. Yeah, I'm losing my track of thought. But yeah, God, what was I talking about? Help. This is great. Every time I go off route, I could have someone just tell me, oh, no, you were talking about this. So yeah, the engineers, they fix things. Professional. Right. So yeah, each engineer would be different. I think that's what I was talking about. And depending on what they needed from the half ship itself, if you were fulfilling all their needs and requirements, you would get additional stuff from them, and they would have a sort of like a personality chart, as it were, on there. And I guess it would be a tarot-sized card as well. And the idea is, if you kept them happy, things like, I need you to upgrade the heat emitters to level 2 or 3. In the 4 days that I'm, the first 4 days I'm here, they would then give you an extra bonus. So it'd be worth to try and hit their needs all the time. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe. But, if I've always imagined those on top not able to deal with the world itself as well as the lures. Excuse me. So they're always going to be wrapped up in these rags and plenty of like pockets and bags and things like that. And we thought that was just a cool image. Yeah. And like power cells. Oh, that was it. Another one was the lantern holders, which are another crucial type. And they just emit light. And when the story was more on the ground itself, it was more about keep them light and warm for everyone. So if you didn't upgrade your half ship enough, you could have the light bearers actually walk out in front and emit the light. And if you don't have light, then your characters would suffer their compos mentis. Oh, how many engineers would there be? Oh, well, I'm not entirely sure how many engineers or how many helpers you should have anyway, but I like the idea of four. The four of any of the helpers. So that could be potentially 4 engineers, 4 hunters, or a mix. Lantern bearers, depending on how you were doing. Like if you were really struggling to keep the half ship stable, if you kept getting attacked, or if you got a biomechanical virus in the ship, which could be, due to, doing something very bad to someone very powerful. You could think about actually we need more engineers, so it's worth getting rid of a hunter for one. Does that make sense? I love the idea of that randomness, but also, if you needed to ever change up how you were playing, you could. You always have that choice. But yeah, every helper, I would want a whole, series of characters, and slightly different in everything they do. For instance, this engineer's got all this mechanical stuff, so I would imagine the fixing rate might be really quick. So if there was any damage, it might have a bonus to fixing, whereas another engineer might have like a bonus if they were adjacent to the half ship. The half ship's heat emitters or sensors or any sort of mechanical part of it would do better. And then if you were to fulfill it's all their requirements, you get a slightly better one. That makes sense? I think it almost makes sense in my head. Yeah, there we go. Lantern holders. I think it's such a cool dessert. Dune. Find out right. Yeah, I think Dune was secretly quite a inspiration for this. I'd loved a Dune as a kid. I never really got into the newer ones, but they look quite cool as well. But yeah, just that sense of being alone. We'll name everything today, I think. My chicken scratch right. Right, lantern holders. Yeah, let's do a lantern holder. Right, we'll do it next to Gary, the engineer. So lantern holders are there's lots of different types. There's ones that just carry a huge lantern, and dragging it, and then there's ones that have almost like a fishing line. So I guess that would be the difference between if you had one really heavy one, the movement of the lantern holder would be, painfully slow, but emit a lot of light in a isolated area, maybe even a couple of hexagons altogether, like a teeny tiny half ship would. Because if you're adjacent to the half ship, you're safe. If you're away from it, that's when your compos mentis starts to struggle, and you can also get all sorts of nasties that will be after you. So yeah, I'm trying a little bit close here, but that'll be okay. So we'll do one so we'll have his little hand here, his little cloak, we'll do his little hand. Yeah, it'll be one of the fishing line ones, I think, because I really like them. And then, poor Bill, whatever his name is, he's going to have a lantern on his head. So yeah, like that. And then lots of cables, because if anyone's seen the videos before, I love any cables or lines or things like that. And then these cables would run back to the half ship. And I've never really done this, but how I imagine the half ship's cables would be kind of biomechanical. So I guess, in Matrix, where they go into the chairs and they have these mechanical parts on their spine, I guess it'd be kind of like that. And it wouldn't be really neat. It would be, sketchy and, very badly done almost. They're not exactly a favored ship. in this world, they're sort of like the sort of like the Firefly ship sort of thing going on. Right, that's enough sketching. Let's do some inking on that one. Right, so we've got a little helmet. Not a helmet. Little Raggedy Ann thingy. I'll do some little mechanical, like a mechanical collar. So the things on the back of their necks, I always imagine them called carapaces, and it's just sort of another little thing that could have been, and still might be, like an upgradable component of the characters. But I don't want too much stuff going on and the game become a bit of a chore. I want just enough that you have a sense of worker placement game, but the main part of it is exploration, the world with the lure characters, because they're going to be your main character that goes off and does all these wondrously terrible things. So then get a little rip there. There we go. And then we'll do some little bags. They're probably for rations and stuff. And I imagine you could probably give them equipment, just like you'd give the lures equipment if you have a real favorite, helper that was going off and hadn't been eaten by anything for a while. You think actually it might be really useful to give them some sort of extra equipment to maybe have them live a bit longer, or you could even give them a weapon. Whatever you really felt like. I like the idea that you could sort of build bonds with characters, and even if they're not the main characters, they might just be doing their job so well. You got really lucky and upgraded them really early on, and then, you think actually they're probably worth keeping them around. Yeah, that's my hope. But the only game test and trial testing it's been for battles really, because at the end of the day, that's the fun bit I find. So yeah, got a little power cell here, and then loads of cables coming off and all jagged and ripped apart and rough and cool stuff. I used to call these I called them before. I can't remember now. Strands. I called them strands, and then about a year after I was calling them strands and anchors and all this stuff, there was a game called Death Stranding came out. And absolutely loved that game because it's what I love, just walking around in circles. And then I saw it was strands and I thought, I can't use it now. I can't use that term. So now I think I still use the term anchors, which is kind of like a middle point, but now it's just veins or lines and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Look, it's like a really big version. Right. I'm going to do a little hand, like a little glove. And you'll see that these characters surviving away from the hardship aren't heroic in any way. They're just little normal people just trying to survive. Like that. There we go. And we won't do all the cables because that will be infuriating, I imagine, to watch. I could quite happily do them for days. It's kind of weird. But yeah, you can imagine the cables all go back round, wrap around. Do-do-do-do-do. Oh, the doobie-doos around. Yeah, cool. And then some will have like almost like a fishing line, like I said, and I don't know, there's something visually really cool about that. Yes, for no other reason than it looks cool. Even though I try to think of ways of making it fit the story, sometimes, a cigar is just a cigar. So the main characters as well. Yes, absolutely, yeah. So these are the little helpers that kind of do their own little thing, and then you have lures, which are Sorry, 2 seconds. Definitely tea time. Much better. So yeah, the main characters are the ones we've been doing in past videos. Thank you very much. I would have completely forgot that one. And so they're the ones like Ayla and Pyre, Vigo, Vetus, Herloff. They're the ones that you'll be playing majority of the game as, upgrading them, and they'll have a extensive talent tree because any game with a talent tree that you can just do crazy things with, it's got my vote. You know, I love the idea of someone playing the same character, or let's say 20 people playing the same character, but it being completely different. I just think that's so cool. And I'll do him with Light Bearer. That looks like Light Beaver. Oh, I need to work on my writing. It's terrible. What's my favorite character? Ooh. You know what? I think my favorite character is Vigo. He's a big slug, ugly, horrible character, and his backstory is just vile, and I think he's great. But then again, I'm not sure actually. I love Dawn. I like all the characters. If I didn't like the character, I just bin them. You know? I've had many characters I've just sort of binned over the years and thought, oh, they're crap. Don't like them anymore. Oh no. Maybe Ayla. Oh, it's really tricky. I don't know. A bigger drawing? Yeah, we could do. Oh yeah, favorite. Who have we not drawn for a while? Maybe that'll be a thing. Let me put a pen there. It's gonna roll away. Bigger drawing. Should we draw? Right. Let's draw. Let's draw Vigo. Why not? We've got time. We can draw Vigo. So I don't think I even need a pencil sketch these days. Drawn him so many times. Not him, it. This creature. And so the idea of Vigo is, even though we've talked about the little helpers, these characters from the Half Ship, and Vigo has his own little helpers specifically, and they're little homunculi, and they're just nasty little creatures that do his bidding, because Vigo is a very slow moving creature, very large, powerful, but slow moving. And his whole thing is about sort of taking the heat off your allies and stuff, even though, I don't think Vigo really cares about anyone else. He's able to just support in that way, even if he doesn't want to support. And we'll do some little homunculites as well, because they're gross and wonderful. So I just need to make sure I got the size kind of right. I've made him a little bit bigger than usual, but I think that's okay. Put some bags as well. And what we'll do, something a little bit different than we don't ever do, we'll give him a weapon. So this weapon, this weapon's called the Nail Biter. And it's a large, saw-like weapon, which you roll damage for in a very different way. Not the, if you use basic weapons, the damage is what it is. That's it. It just happens. It's not like D&D. If someone's adjacent to you, you don't have to just roll. It's just to kind of speed up the game. However, I guess in a sense these are great weapons, or weapons with a story. They have to be used in a different way, and you'll have to roll. At the moment, it's a D12 plus whatever modifier you're rolling it with. So if it was a strength based, you'll be rolling your stoic. And if it was sort of a very thin, nasty blade, it would be your discovery, if that makes sense. But yeah, we'll do a little weapon today. We'll give him a little bracelet, a little weird thing. And we'll stick an effigy there of him as well, because all the characters have their own little effigies, which is part of the story. And thematically, it gives you a second life. well, not thematically, but part of the story just gives you a second life. So if you do mess up, you've got a good chance. And there is ways to come back after that, but we haven't gone into that, so we'll do that in another video. And I've never really decided how many arms Vigo has, and I like the idea that even I don't know. I've never drawn or even really thought about what Vigo is underneath all these garbs and wraps. I always thought that was more fun to have that mystery that even I don't know. You know, how creepy is that? Hey, Daryl, man, how you doing? Good to see you, man. All right. So yeah, we got here's Vigo. Let's do some inking. All right. So he always has this stitch on this cloth above, like that. And then he's got a really ripped, tattered cloth. And yeah, it's just kind of gross, kind of wonderful. That's what we want, right? This is kind of like a horror game in a sense. You know, it's not too horror, but just the right amount, I think. And we'll do, so his little carapace is always just a kind of a bone thing until you customize it and add different ones. So I would just kind of do the basic one. I think that's easier to illustrate. But yeah, I always liked this guy or this thing. Something about it. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Oh, I forgot to do the homunculi. We'll do a little homunculi. We'll do them here. Little eyes, the mouth, and the long, gnarly arms, that kind of nasty little grabby things. And I haven't quite decided yet how many of these little homunculi Vigo will have, but I think 3 feels like a really good sense of number. And we did a video actually about the mechanics of how Vigo works with the homunculi. Is, you know, you sort of have like a mini game for every single character. So they have their talent tree, but they also have a mini game which is just for them. And it's just, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of that randomness in a game. You know, you're not really sure what's going to happen. That was the idea. You just have this little mini game that you could kind of play throughout. And Vigo's mini game is controlling the homunculi. Well, somewhat controlling, trying to control them, but each homunculi has, I'm saying homunculi so many times that the word's completely lost traction. Oh, thanks, Darryl. I really appreciate it, man. The consistent growth in the channel. Oh, I'm going to try and keep it up. Yeah, I'm not sure how many live streams I'll do because this is terrifying, but I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it was the randomness of, you know, what was that? I think my first Pokemon was Pokemon Yellow. You know, I spent like 3 hours in the first section. I don't think I even lost. I left that little town where Ash was, you know, for a good few hours, just trying to run and see how many Pokemon. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's that randomness, you know. There's a lot of stuff in the game that I've decided that, you know, I didn't want that randomness to sort of take away from the fun of the game, because I hate these games. I don't really hate. It's sort of a love-hate relationship where, you know, you go to have your turn, you roll 1 bad dice, and that's it. And it's like, oh, what do you want to do? And I was like, can't do anything. You know, I'll just sit until the next round. But in this, I really wanted that nice mix of things that you have full control over, like your character's actions, movements, you know, the passive stuff, the effigies, the abilities, all that stuff. But also have that mini game that just adds that little bit more flavor. With the homunculi, they're not going to save the day or do anything incredible, but there's a chance they might really be a nuisance for an enemy or do something really funny. And every now and again, you might be able to think, oh, actually with that roll, I could add that to this, and then you've just been poured out of the ocean, as it were. Yeah, so that's my incredibly long ramble about that, but yeah, hope that makes sense. Right, a little bag. Cool. We do a little effigy here. So just little hands like that. Nice. Cool. Do some more rips and tears and all these goodies here. Cool, we're getting there. Sorry, this one's taking a much longer. This one's taking much longer than the other ones. And there's me saying I could draw with my eyes shut, and there's me now thinking, oh, did I miss this bit? But yeah, I don't think I've talked about it, but all the characters have their own special passive. So we've talked a lot about Ayla's Blight. So she's the only character that has Blight in the game. And what Blight does is, once you've infected an enemy with Blight, they can't self-heal. Well, that's not true actually. They can self-heal, but every time they go to it, you would roll your Blight die opposed to how much healing they do. So Ayla doesn't do a lot of damage off the mark, but she has this ability to constantly lower down the enemy's healing capability, which is massive. I'm glad. Thank you, Katara. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's but yeah, Vigos is disease. So anyone that attacks, and this is a work in progress, but anyone attacks Vigo has a chance of catching a disease. So it's quite, it's not going to be like anything that's going to be ground breaking, but it might be something that it lowers their attack ability, or it slows that enemy down slightly. But this is a work in progress because originally the vampire character had it. So I'm still kind of figuring out whose abilities work with whom best. But yeah, in a month's time, this character would probably shoot lasers or something. Well, not really, but yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky one to get it just right, and just want the characters to kind of look and play. No, I want them to play how they look. Does that make sense? Maybe. Yeah, so we'll do a little bit, all these little rags and ropes and things like that. You also used to have this ability where you could put weapons and stuff on these rags that drag behind. And originally, it was you didn't really have any sort of way of doing damage actively, so it'd all be passive. And you used to have the ability to be able to put like spikes and scissors and minor weapons at the back. But then as we were sort of designing Nilfa, the long-tailed DPS character, it felt more in line to have her use her tail rather than Vigor use all these little bits. But again, this might change in the future. I don't know. Maybe. I hope it was a good day at work, Darren. Not too tiring, but hope you got yourself a nice cuppa. Treats to have to a few bickies as well. Right. How are we doing? Doing alright, actually. So, what should we do next? I mean, we can carry on drawing sort of I've just drawn over it. We can carry on drawing sort of the underworld, but we kind of got that sort of sense. Oh, and we can jump back to this as well. I forgot about that. I don't know why I'm over here. We've got a whole screen. Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, my technique is to draw really quick, little scratchy things so people don't realize I'm actually not very good at drawing. That's a secret. I'll draw his little hand. And originally, Migo also had a lantern all the time. That was part of it. It's like basic kit, but I don't think that's part of it anymore. I just That's more for the nightmare characters, because this character spawned from a nightmare, which is kind of like the enemies, like the not quite a boss, but this wandering monster that's always after you, and depending on your choices. So there was a little bit of a sense of a karma in the game. So if you come across, let's say, a wanderer that's lost or stuck, let's say stuck underneath, a very heavily burdened wanderer, you can simply steal what they've got and leave, and you'll have some great, resources, items, or you could help them. If you did do the worst thing, it would stipulate that you get at the moment, it's still, still in the testing stage, but you get a scary Mary, which is bad karma. And then every time you get one of those, the nightmare will get closer and closer. Very hard things to kill, but if you can, well worth it. Right, I think I need more tea. Much better. Right, so yeah, we were talking about this version of the half ship being sort of tree climbing monstrosity, and sort of gone away from this idea, but as I'm drawing, I'm thinking it's really kind of cool. But you never know. We might come back to that one day, and we'll see how we're doing. Oh, another thing, I did the same thing with Angel. I think it's them single down. I'm not sure. I know, right? I feel like it just kind of adds to it as well, the random little scratchy bits, because most of the time, most of it's just kind of made up on the spot, but I kind of like it. Right. Cool. So yeah, that's sort of how it was once as well. So there's all the trees. It's very sketchy, but probably kind of makes sense when I'm drawing. Tree, tree, tree. Tree, tree, tree. Cool. And then I have lots of little arms here as well. There's sort of the mining apparatus. So if you found a really good spot to mine for like resources, you could lower yourself down to it, and then these would be the little cords for the lures. Little person there. No person there. Oh, grade A drawing right there. Right. Oh, yeah, The Ritual, right? Yeah, that's a great film. Yeah, I think kind of the nightmare creatures kind of had a little bit of the ritual creature from I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, super creepy. Right, what should we draw? You know what? We could draw the other version of the half ship as well. Where's my pencil? And we don't need a pencil. We don't need pencils. We do need a rubber though, and I've forgotten. But what am I doing? Right, so the half ship originally, we'll do a little drawing of the half ship. So originally it was also like this flying monstrosity, which really makes sense in the game itself because you're trying to keep away. But this idea of the two worlds, I really like this, and I haven't quite figured it out yet, but maybe we'll get there at some point. But so we've got little creepy arms. Lots of creepy arms, in fact. And we got little heat exhausts. We got the eyes. We got the sensors. We got the little mining arms that come right down. And then we've got the cables that lure, where the lures come down from. So the lures would come right out like that. And that one's going to go that way. I never see that one again. So we'll do a little mini Ayla for her hair, her little legs. And then we'll do the little helpers nice and close, not too far away from the half ship at any point. We want to stay safe, of course. And then there's like little platforms on it. So there's another idea that we haven't quite. So we've got a few ideas for the half shell. We've got this underground one. We've got the tree cry. It's so creepy. Look at it. Ugh. And we also got the air one as well. So I haven't quite figured out which one we like, but we'll get there. Oh, that sounds. Ah, yes. Yeah, cups of tea. Very, very important. So what we could do, we could draw the underbelly here, but I feel like we don't need to too much. Has anyone got anything they would like to see? Just wondering. Vigo. How do you spell homunculi? I think that's right. Dawn. Oh, we could draw dawn, can we? We like dawn. Right, let's do dawn without pencil. I think we're okay for that. So, there we go. So, we got her carapace, the little famous one that I've always drawn. We got the two eyes and the skull. And unlike the other carapaces, Dawn starting one is mechanical, and that kind of fits in with her story, but I don't want to go into that because that would kind of give her a little bit away in terms of her origins, and I don't want to do that just yet. So there's her little neck guard. So it comes into like a little shackle bit here, and a carapace there. I'm going to do a few little details, nothing crazy. No, sometimes not. I mean, famous last words, just as when I ruin it. But we'll see. But yeah, sometimes I'm okay with just drawing without. As long as I can sort of have an idea in my head, how do I want it to look like? I'm going to do, I've got a little bag on the side, another little bag. I'm going to do some extra cables today. And we'll give her a shackle as well. So the thing I was talking about earlier about the, the little helpers having this thing that would keep them safe. And sort of goes up the spine like that. There we go. And then what we'll do is we'll leave that. We'll leave that little bit as well. Part of the madness, fear not. And then what else do we want to do? We're going to have a little bit left there. There we go. Oh, I'm off camera. Sorry about that. There we go. It's concentrating too much. Alright, there we go. And a little bit here. It will make sense why I'm leaving all this bit. And then, underneath, over the top. Yeah, we'll go underneath. And back around here as well. And then down there. And then we can draw the limb. Like so. Then we'll come back under there, wrap round up here, and then we've got the limb. Like so. Dooey. And then there's the sort of creepy little arm bit where it comes out of. Cool. Cool. Yeah, I know. So professional. It's the doobies. When they start coming out, I'm concentrating. Yeah. Cool. And do some little stitches up here as well. And this little bit. And we'll do one back foot here. I think that almost lines up correct. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. So it's going to be a bit longer than that. And then the other limb. How can we have that? We'll come around the other side. It doesn't need to come on this side as well. And then do. Yeah, so a few years ago I actually did a comic about Dawn. Did a Kickstarter. It went really well. surprisingly well, because I didn't think anyone would want to read it, but it was a really cool little experience, and I'd love to get back into the world of comic books because that's really fun. Done a tiny bit of doobie doo, yeah, and doobie doos. Can't go wrong if you got the doobie doos. Cool. Yeah. Right. And then Dawn's hair come around the side. It's nice and wild and all over the place because I don't think there's very many barbers in this sort of world. And do the blade. Do a slightly smaller one. I don't want to draw huge long blades this time. So Dawn's little special ability is kind of still in the works, but I'd like the idea of her being able to be somewhat of like a controller. So these long scythe-like appendages that is from a creature that lives sort of in this little area on her back. So there. These spikes were able to go into. Oh yeah. Oh, secretly mine as well. I think Catro. I'm not sure. Back and forth. But it would be able to go into an enemy, and if their compass mentis, sort of their mental armor, was low enough, she would actually be able to take control of them. So I'm trying to figure out how that would work as like a random dice game, or it might just be part of her talent tree. Still trying to work that one out. Well, I'll get there eventually. About 10 years or so. Cool. And she's looking alright. Yeah, it's not bad. I haven't messed up yet. Oh, still time. Cool. Carapace. Cool, I'm going to do some of the little cables as well coming off. Cool. Like that. Nice. So is everyone having a good day today? Has everyone got their cups of tea? I feel like there's been a serious lack of cups of tea conversation, and I don't know what's going on. It's outrageous. There we go. So another little pipe, and a little pipe will go there, and then come around, and then there we go. Cool. But yeah, sorry, stop drawing pipes now. Silly now. But yeah, that's the coffee. Good choice. Very good choice. And then we'll draw the other limb sort of here. So we're coming back on itself as well. Like so. Coffee day as well. Good choice. Very good choice. Nice. Cool. And that's the other limb. Cool. Cool. Nice. So that's the door. Right. Have a sip of my tea, not coffee. Okay, right. Should we do one more little doodle and then we might call that a day because it's so stressful. Very stressful. Stressed out on. Tea is for bedtime. Well, it's nearly my bedtime. It's a whole 7 o'clock. There won't be much left in me, I'm afraid. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I might just finish off this little creature here. So this is what I was talking about before, the sort of the underworld, and sort of have these weird little platforms for the lures to actually live on. You know, and that's how they were getting into this strange purgatory-like world underneath. I don't know, I haven't quite figured out the reason behind it all or anything, but I really like that sense of two worlds, two realms. Can I ask for a fantasy character? We can definitely do a fantasy character, yeah. What do we think? Dwarf, elf, goblin, golem? Oh, is it? Oh well. Just so you know, the future's not too bad. Yeah, it's all right over here, Daryl. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. It's like talking to someone in the past. Ah, time travel. Yeah. So, what sort of fantasy character should we draw? We could draw it here, or there's not very much room there. Yeah, we'll draw it here. What do we think? Dwarf, elf, troll, ogre. Even though I'm still not entirely sure the difference between a troll or an ogre. Yeah. What do you think? Or like a lizard person, some sort of monster. What else is there? It's probably loads, isn't it? Tell you what, I'll have a sip of tea. Good old troll. Yeah, it's a good idea. You can't go wrong with a troll. And what should the troll be doing? Any thoughts for the good old troll? Lizard, half troll. Yeah, I could do this. Probably do this. Okay, so lizard troll. Yeah, we could do a lizard troll. Right. Right, okay. Wait. Yeah, I can imagine. That's really weird, isn't it? New Year's Eve. Yeah, you're celebrating it before other people. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's freaky. Right, we're doing lizard person troll. We need part aquatic lizard troll. I like it. We can do these. Part aquatic lizard troll. We'll just make them up as we go, shall we? Okay, so part aquatic. Part lizard. Okay, so he's going to have a fin on his head. Okay, cool. It's going to be like spines, like spiky bits. It's like a fancy cocktail. You know what? Maybe this part aquatic lizard troll should be enjoying a cocktail. You know, that's how we end the video. That's how we should end every video. Right, scales. I don't know what's going on with the mouth. Sort of have it like that. Cheekbone, some frown lines, very grumpy. Lizard, troll, creature. And then I'll do sort of lizard-esque fingers. Don't worry, it all makes sense. I've got a plan. Well, almost a plan. You know what? Should definitely have used pencil on this one. This is really bizarre. Okay, and then it's got a nice little claw there. Seriously. No, it's fine. And then we'll do like a space cocktail glass, so it's just a little bit there, like that. A little shimmer. We'll do some spilling. And then sort of a lizard, isn't he? So let's do some scales to the elbow, and then lots of little lines, and then we'll do some more spines, because, part fish. Now, see, this is what I should do live more often. How often do you get to draw a lizard, troll, fishy person having a cocktail? I mean, no more than once a week, right? Yeah, cool. Cool. And then let's do his shoulder. Some little spikes. Little chest. And do lots of little lines. Oh yeah, just exactly like that I sketched with that. Yeah, just without the quick pencil drawing at the start. This is definitely trickier. That's actually more fun. I like the live suggestions. All right, we got to draw some gills on his neck. Like that. Cool. And then sort of more kobold, dragon-esque lizard sort of shape as well. And this other arm, what should his other hand be holding? Any ideas, guys?
Give an offense to God, how do you gain access to operation?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you have to make the perfect cocktail. It's a great idea. Yeah.
I think we should throw another brief.
Absolutely, go for it. We got time for another one. So there's his hand. Small spines down here. I think that kind of makes sense. I think I overlined that, but it's kind of how I wanted the hand to be done. Sort of, have his palms a bit far forward. Okay, and there is the arm here. Do a bit more lizard folk like. What's the definition? And a few spiky bits. That's a good point. What do you reckon his favorite cocktail would be? He is a wonderfully ugly chap. We've done well. Well done to everyone making the ugliest thing I've drawn in some time. Seems a good bet, yeah. So, coral? Yeah, makes sense. Hot chocolate. Maybe a little bit of everything. I mean, he seems a bit confused in general. I don't really know what this creature is. Other than incredibly handsome. And really wish I had done pencil now. Alright, cool. This is really tricky. And he's going to be holding like little cane. Looks kind of like a chair leg, doesn't it? Yeah. It's trying to be posh, but
I'm fancy chocolate now. Right, so
I'm nearly finished. I'll just finish off this wonderfully ugly chap and then we'll call it a day, I think. Alright. I'll do some dragon abs. For some reason dragons always have abs. Oh wait, but he's a troll as well. He's got dragon abs to about there. And then I think he's got a little bit of a tummy. And oh no, trolls have like horns, right? Oh no, we forgot. And then you know what? Trolls always have like a loincloth, don't they? So we'll give him a little loincloth and we'll do a few little skulls on it as well. Like so. Very badly drawn skulls. And a rope kind of together. And right, okay. Like so. And I draw that. Oh, draw on the table then. Okay. Alright. And then also do the remnants of his dragon-like tail at the back, kind of going off the page. Very badly drawn, but paper's moving. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you everyone for making this horrendous suggestion. It was awful. There we go. On the other side of his leg, over here. And then a few hairs on his tummy. There we go. Cool. One more drawing. Oh. We could do one more drawing, couldn't we? What should the one last drawing be? What do we reckon? Oh, that is just, look at it. It's horrendous. Let's do some more details, make him really gross looking. Yeah, should we do one more drawing? Anyone got any ideas? I think those are scales. Right. Spinning his drink. A mandrake. Yeah, we could do a mandrake. If anyone hasn't seen the video where I've drawn the worst mandrake in the world, actually we'll recreate it. So we won't need pencil for this because professional mandrake drawer. A nice 750 in the bottom. Oh, you know what? That's a great point. Yep, we should definitely do that. Yeah, we'll put. It's a really good idea actually. We'll put the 750, of course. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So we draw a gross little mandrake, sort of interacting with the world below. And then we'll do the 750. Unless anyone has anything else to add to this gross little mandrake. Yeah, some nice little roots. And then we'll do his little stalks. Oh, I know, honestly. Mandrakes. And we'll do him sort of sleeping. And we'll do a nice little leaf that's probably been eaten by a couple of snails. It's the ugliest creature, isn't it? Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. We could make it even uglier. How can we do that? It's a vile creature, isn't it? I feel bad as an illustrator bringing this sort of thing into the world. It will live on YouTube forever. Sorry, YouTube. Right. Little bite marks in there. A couple of little a hand. I know. Got a little root there, and have a little root there, and on the top of that bit, another little root. And then, rightly said, right, what am I doing? Oh my goodness. How do I change this into a 5? I forgot. I've got 750. Right. How do I do that into a 5? Okay. It's going to have to be an alien 5. Right. How do I do a 5? Oh my god. Right. 50. Okay. Oh my gosh. No one will ever know. It's been a long day. Look at that. You know what? I nearly did a whole video. Almost semi-professional, but it was writing numbers. That was my downfall. Get colour that in. Doing this weird pen holding thing again as well. I don't know why. Cool. Well, that was disgraceful. It's no one will ever notice. Cool. As I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you and all the support. No one knows. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, had to. Look at that little nose. No. So disgusting. Right, let's leave it there. Thank you everyone for all your wonderful support and support. And I hope you really enjoyed yourself. All right, guys. You all take care. Bye.